Shut up and sit down.
Howdy and salutations. Welcome to Broken Table Commentary, a three-man creative discussion all about the greatest of fake sports, professional wrestling. Every episode, we each bring a different topic to the table. The topics can be ridiculously serious, opinion or factual, creative or not, whatever we feel like. And as always, the topics for this episode are in the description. On commentary, we have our Mark, the debonair diabetic dad, Linton.
Hey everybody, I've got diabetes and a kid.
Our historian, the Juice Man, Gucci Man, the Scottish Wonder, the Uncle Scrooge to my Huey, Dewey, and Louie all combined, Michael.
Hello, and not only was I not the Undertaker's wife Stalker in 2001, I wasn't even Barry Windham the Stalker in 1996. Innocent.
And our critic, Navy Jessel. You can follow us on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Facebook as Broken Table Commentary, directly at BrokenTableCommentary.com, or on Twitter at Broken Table COM. New episodes are broadcast not every Thursday, every other Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Other episodes come up all the time. Prediction shows, gaming, live commentaries. We got it all, baby. If you like wrestling. If you don't like wrestling, well, then we don't have that.
We have nothing for you.
No.
For now. Maybe we'll get more. This is episode number 27, Nightstand. Hell in a Cell happened a little while ago. Awesome. TLC's coming up. Awful. Lots of people are walking out of the company. Debuts on NXT. All sorts of stuff are happening. How are you boys feeling about wrestling? About life? How are you? How are you doing now?
Well, I and my wife have had to spend most of the last week doing something called tax returns. So I could be much better.
I definitely feel that.
Yeah. So much paperwork. So you'd think that anything in wrestling would cheer me up, but the WWE, saw that challenge and failed it. Oh man.
It's true. Hell in a Cell was super duper good. Probably best pay-per-view of the year so far. But I know I am a sad boy because Neville walked out of the company. Don't know if he's quit. Don't know if he's just upset. Don't know what's going to happen with him. But he walked out. The sons of IRS have been missing in action for weeks. Nia Jax just asked for a leave of absence. There's a lot of stuff going on backstage at Raw.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that it's all Raw. Way to go, Raw.
Yeah.
Causing all those problems.
Jimmy Jacobs is he was fired or asked to resign or whatever because of his Instagram shenanigans. Who again, he was a Raw writer. Just a lot going on.
Well, as to go with the cruiserweights, and if you think about it, that's both men in the WrestleMania cruiserweight match gone now. Which reminds me of what the great Oscar Wilde said in The Importance of Being Earnest, which is to lose one cruiserweight title match competitor at WrestleMania may be regarded as a misfortune, but to lose both of the WrestleMania competitors looks like carelessness. I certainly agree with our dead historical writer here. Things are not looking rosy in the land of 205 Live, and indeed the rest of WWE.
Yep. And of course, the age-old adage: if a wrestler is replaced in a match and it becomes a title match, the substitution wins. So we had Kalisto win the Cruiserweight Championship in the match that Neville walked out on.
Good old WWE logic, which doesn't make any logic.
Well, yeah, that's more Vince McMahon logic. That's Vince in particular.
It could be you. And people are assuming that Kalisto is a stopgap here, but remember that one of the most successful IC title reigns came from exactly this. In 1987, Butch Reed was meant to win the IC title, but he no-showed the event because he had transportation issues or something. So Vince was like, "Oh, I need someone to beat Ricky Steamboat." And he just went over and grabbed Honky Tonk and said, "Here, you're going to the ring. Oh, by the way, you're winning the IC title." And Honky's like, "Cool." And then, he wound up with the belt for 14 months. So you never know what opportunities right around the corner.
It's true. I know for myself, if my favorite wrestler currently wrestling leaves the WWE, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so unhappy with the product on Raw. I'm really happy with the SmackDown product, to be fair. It's really good and entertaining. But the Raw product, it makes me so unhappy to lose the one guy I liked seeing on Raw. I don't know. I don't know what's going to make me. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it'll be sad.
Probably nothing. Probably continue to do what I'm doing now, because we do a podcast that requires me to watch as much wrestling as I possibly can. But, I'll be not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently when I've talked about this on episodes, that I've wanted less and less to watch WWE Raw and stuff because of all the other things that there is to watch. But, well, we do the podcast and stuff, so it's not like, I don't know, I feel like I don't really have the option right now because the podcast is so much fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. Once we now have a commitment to essentially journalism is what we do. We editorialize and we dissect and we predict, and that's cool. But it does mean that we don't have we're essentially no longer consumers. We are now the stopgap for you guys, our listeners, which is interesting.
And it does help the SmackDown is so good, because if Raw continues down this path, then it's easy. We spend the 30 seconds, 1 minute saying, "Hey, Raw was shit," and then we spend 10 minutes talking about how good SmackDown was.
That's true. And hey, in the vein of that, I want to do a Lenny maneuver, and I want to hear two things about wrestling right now both of you are happy about. I'll go ahead and tell you my two. Lio Rush, his debut in NXT is so freaking good. NXT right now, other than the Ring of Honor nonsense, I don't like stables, so of course I don't like any of that. But other than that, Drew is really entertaining. Patrick Clark is the Velveteen Dream is incredible. Lio Rush is incredible. Aleister Black is incredible. Kassius Ohno is incredible. Lars Sullivan is incredible. Nikki Cross is incredible. Billy Kay and Peyton Royce are incredible. So much awesome stuff happening in NXT. And the Bludgeon Brothers, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, repackaged as the Bludgeon Brothers, where Luke Harper gives the worst, most old school promos ever. It's so good. I'm so into it. What are two good things for you guys?
WWE specifically, or all of wrestling?
Just all wrestling.
I would say Sami Zayn heel turn is definitely up there in the top for me.
It's great, yeah.
It was really out of nowhere. It completely shocked me when they did it at Hell in a Cell. The promo stuff he did with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown yesterday was really, really good. He's not changing. Like, a lot of times when someone makes a heel turn, they change their personality, which I don't really like. It's like, oh, I was this guy when I liked the fans. Now I'm a heel, so I'm really mean and I don't do any of my same characteristics and stuff. It's like I'm a completely different human being. But he's still acting like Sami Zayn. He's just a Sami Zayn who's a little bit more selfish now. He knows that the fans aren't going to back him like they did Daniel Bryan. So he's still that human being. He's just that human being who's looking out for himself. And I love it when they make that decision as a heel turn rather than I'm a completely different human being inside of this costume. So I'm loving the Sami Zayn heel turn. That is fantastic. And Cody Rhodes would be my other thing in wrestling. Cody Rhodes is just so good. I've been watching everything he does lately, and he is just making everybody look so good on the indies. And everywhere he goes, he makes everybody look good. And the Indies is so different than WWE, and I didn't realize I liked this so much. In WWE, it's all about the storyline and the bigger picture. Every single event is connected to another event. That's connected to another event. Every single week is connected to hopefully eternity. That's their goal, is for WWE to be around forever. So everything is connected to the next show that's connected forever. In the indies, you're going to all these different places that you're not signed to forever, and you're just putting on matches. It's about each individual wrestler going and putting in different pieces. And Cody gets that, and he goes to all these places, and he's making everybody he wrestles look really, really, really good. He reminds me of Ric Flair. That's what Ric Flair would do back in the day. He'd climb up every turnbuckle in every single territory and let everybody throw him off every single turnbuckle. And this is what Cody's doing. He's making these tiny little guys look fantastic, and he's just making me so happy. Cody Rhodes is my favorite wrestler in the world at the moment. So those are my two favorite things about wrestling right now.
What about you, Michael?
Well,
Give me two good things.
well, actually, I'm actually currently sworn to secrecy on the thing that really interests me about current wrestling. There's a teaser like a bastard. Sorry, watch this space.
Okay.
There's
Cool.
I don't know what that means, but okay. Well, what's the one thing you can talk about, since this is an auditory thing that you have to talk about?
Yeah, the thing I can talk about is that WWE are pushing or using 3 of my favourite wrestlers, which is really cool. 2 of them have just been mentioned. That's Luke Harper, who is finally going to get used after far too long, and the other Sami Zayn, who, his whole run since Hell in a Cell has been one of the highlights of the show. But also, on Raw, Kane returned! Oh, that's gotta be Kane! Kane's alive! Oh, so yeah, I've always liked Kane. He is one of the best big men of all time. And, it's cool to see him in a match, even if it's going to be a clusterfuck. But I'm sure we might have a prediction contest about that at some point soon. So, yeah. So yeah, there is my technically 4 things I'm interested in. I was struggling there, so there you go. Bang for your buck.
So you can have your secret one, since you mentioned so many guys.
Yeah, but just there's an interesting project, but I can't speak about it just now. But other than just doing it there. Right.
I will mention WWE 2K18 is out now for the PlayStation, PC, and the Xbox One. I know I am the only one out of the 3 of us that's playing it. But I'm sure some of the listeners are probably also playing it. I'll say that I do like it. It doesn't have enough differences with the last one to warrant spending $60 right now, but I'm one of those people who likes wrestling enough and respects the fact that, I guess respect's not the word, but I know that wrestlers get money for these kinds of things, and I like to get them every year just because I like to support, wrestlers and everything that are put in the game that weren't put in the game before. So I am glad I spent the money. But it is a lot of fun. This is the first one in maybe 3 years that the online play is actually playable, at least for me. Cool. That I've never been able to get on there and play without lagging issues and stuff, and I've actually been able to play online. So that in itself is worth the price for me. I'm sure for other people who have better online quality that they've been able to do it, but that's been really, really fun. The creation stuff, a lot of people have made a really, really fantastic stuff on there. Someone made an entire arena and wrestling ring My Little Pony themed, and as a brony, I'm so happy that person did that for me. So I'm going to make a whole show based on My Little Pony for wrestlers to wrestle for the My Little Pony title. So that's going to be great. So I give it a 7.5 out of 10. There's my WWE 2K18 quick review.
And the one, and let's be honest, the only thing that I'm really interested in the game is the Rumble mode.
Confusing. Currently, it's the best Rumble mode yet. There's definitely a feel of you don't know what's going to happen next. There's a whole lot of more options of what everybody can do than there was before. It's not just with the one mini game. There's I think 5 different ways people can get eliminated. Cool. But there doesn't seem to be a reasoning behind how those ways get started, like why that happens. So I am confused as to it, but it is a whole lot of fun. Mojo Rawley should be able to eliminate 3 guys in a row. Although he did win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, so maybe they like buffed him up to where he wins everything.
This is where there's a coding error, and he's meant to be Goldberg.
There you go.
No, because the most recent, I liked when I was watching some of it on YouTube, and it was showing that you had the animation to have quick eliminations, like the clothesline them over the top rope, for example, without all the huff and puff. Because in the most recent games, which I've mostly been watching via YouTube, because I've never had anything that could play the damn things for a number of years now. Most of them seem to be, struggling in the ropes or corner, and that's the only way you can get somebody out. And of course, that happens in real life, but there also has to be an element of quick in and out, and you've got to play someone else now. So yeah, I am cautiously optimistic.
There's actually a skill that a lot of wrestlers have that's a Royal Rumble finisher. So if you're certain finishing moves, like I think Brock Lesnar has one where you can actually do that F5 out of the ring in the Royal Rumble, which is pretty cool.
Because it reminds me of Warzone, which was the first N64 or
N64, yeah.
Game. So many moves you could there are so many moves that mostly if you were stunned you were in danger, but if Farouk was in the ring, Farouk would hit a power press slam, and if you were in a rumble he'd just chuck you to the floor. So no matter what you were doing, if you were facing Farouk, there was a chance he would throw you out at any second, and that was and hardly any of the games since have had that sort of element of at any moment your rumble is over, which is part of the thrill of the deal thing. So, it's cool that you're...
I would also like to mention, before we move on to our first topic, that I got a Chris Benoit figure. Mm-hmm. That makes me very happy. We went to a flea market, and I have him. He's standing right here. Can you hear him?
Oh, I hear him moving.
You can hear him wiggling around? Yeah, he does. He's weird and great, and I got him for $1. And he's probably worth $15, so that's pretty good. So I just got Chris Benoit now at my podcast space, just hanging out.
I do have to mention one bad thing though that happened on SmackDown that I'm upset about.
Go ahead.
We've got AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal feud established on an outright lie. The WWE just wants us to forget that Jinder Mahal beat AJ Styles clean in May of this year. Like, they just does this whole program that they have is based on the fact that Jinder says that he's beaten everybody on SmackDown that's worth anything, and then AJ Styles comes out and says, well, you haven't beaten me. And then they just have a whole promo about the fact that Jinder hasn't beaten AJ, and everyone on commentary is like, oh yeah, Jinder hasn't beaten AJ. But Jinder's beaten AJ on May 16th. It happened. People are mad about it on the internet. And that bothers me. It bothers me when WWE does that.
That's funny. Yeah,
like we're just supposed. It wasn't like 2 years ago. It was like 5 months ago. Yeah. On a SmackDown, he beat him. He beat him fine in like 6 minutes. So that's really frustrating.
Yeah. That's silly. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our first topic. Michael, he did make allusion to this, so we're gonna go with my topic first, and this is a new Save the Angle. Need a theme song for Save the Angle. Last time we did this, we tried to fix a bad mystery. So this time we're gonna take another storyline from WWE's past that did not work and try to make it work. This time I tasked all of us with Save the Angle, Sarah's Stalker. Now, Sarah's Stalker was the DDP's debut in the WWE during, part of, not quite part of, who knows. It's during the invasion stuff in 2001. It didn't work. It was bad. DDP shows up, unmasks, the Stalker shows up, unmasks, shows DDP, and everyone pops for him instead of booing him. Because everyone wanted to see DDP, and then DDP just gets trounced constantly over and over again, the whole storyline, and it's terrible. It's handled so badly. So, we're gonna fix it. So the question is, both of you guys and all the audience, save the angle. Who is Sarah's stalker? Who would like to go first?
I guess I'll go first.
All right, Orange Hoodie Boy, what you got?
It's my John Cena hoodie, see? Yeah, the videos are playing. Undertaker knows someone's been stalking his wife. Videos are being sent and everything. He's trying to figure out who it is. So he shows up at a spot where I'm very confused. I think... Okay. Sorry, I've had 3 blood sugar crashes today, so now that I'm trying to read, my eyes are not doing me justice. So everyone just has to polar bear with me. So I'm gonna I'll just wing it. I don't need to read this. All right. So basically, I remember what my main points are. So trying to read right now is not working. Basically, so what happens is Undertaker knows his wife is getting stalked. He's been sent videos. He's been sent pictures and stuff. We know, okay, Sarah's getting stalked in like parks and public places and stuff like that. So he shows up to one of these places where his wife frequents, and he sees this strange car. He sees somebody there. He sees somebody with binoculars and stuff in the car, and he grabs the person out of the car and throws him out. And that's Diamond Dallas Page. That's when we say, okay, well, Diamond Dallas Page is there with binoculars. What the hell is he doing there? And he's about to beat the crap out of Diamond Dallas Page. And Diamond Dallas Page is like, no, I'm not stalking anybody. Look, I've been getting these pictures too. I've been getting videos too. My wife has been getting stalked, and my wife is here. Like maybe like there's a yoga class or something that both of the wives take together, something like that they're both there at the same park at the same time, and he's been trying to find out who it is too. So Taker doesn't believe him at first. He's like, okay, whatever, I don't want to see you here again. So some time goes by. Page is still trying to convince Taker that he has nothing to do with it. Taker doesn't believe him. Still more videos are being sent and stuff. Eventually, Diamond Dallas Page actually gets signed, so he's over there and he's wrestling in WWE. Taker is DDP shows up with his gym bag and stuff, and Taker finds pictures of his wife in DDP's bag. So now he's like totally pissed, and he tells Diamond Dallas Page, "Look, you have until King of the Ring to prove to me that you're not stalking my wife, or I'm going to kill you." Basically, what he says, because he can say kill and stuff because he's the dead man. So Diamond Dallas Page is very, very stressed because he doesn't want to be killed by the Undertaker. So he's got to find a way.
I like that phrase a lot.
So he's got to find a way to prove that he's not stalking his wife. So he tries to find ways. He tries to find proof. He shows more pictures of his wife. Taker's like, you can take pictures of your own wife. I know that. More pictures of other, just like random women are starting to show up now, are just like in DDP's possession, just showing up in like Undertaker's mail and stuff. Like it's just getting out of control, but nothing that proves that it's not DDP doing it. So King of the Ring, DDP shows up and he says, "Look, I can't prove that it's not me. Please forgive me. I did the best I could. I promise it's not me." Taker doesn't believe him. Taker just beats the shit out of Diamond Dallas Page, like a bloody mess, does all the kinds of stuff that looks like he breaks his arm, like he puts his arm in the steel chair, then jumps off the rope and steps on it. So stuff that would keep him out of action for months and months and months. So now he's at home, like he can't even leave home because he's so injured. And then one Monday Night Raw, they announced that they caught the guy that's been the Stalker, and it's not a wrestler or anything. It's just a normal dude. It's just some guy, some wrestling fan that's a pervert. Like, I guess his name's like Jonathan or something. And he's just this disgusting guy that's been committing these crimes. And he's arrested now. And he's going to jail. And Undertaker was wrong. And Undertaker realizes, oh, I was wrong. It's just this gross pervert guy that was doing all this. And so now Undertaker is doing everything in his power to make it up to Diamond Dallas Page. And we see dead man, American badass Undertaker, like, being this vulnerable guy that realizes that, oh, I was wrong and I just destroyed Diamond Dallas Page when I shouldn't have, and I want to make it up to him. I'm going to try to make Diamond Dallas Page into a success in WWE because I almost ruined him. So now the storyline is The Undertaker trying to make it up to DDP and give him a real chance in the WWE because he was wrong all along. And that's how I would do it.
I am super into that. That's a super cool way to do it. Plus, Jonathan the Stalker, new WWE 2K18 character. We need to have Jonathan the Stalker Hashtag Jonathan the Stalker us on Twitter with pictures of your create a wrestler of Jonathan the Stalker so we can play out this storyline. I really like this one, Lenny.
Thank you. I thought since it's just a regular guy, it wouldn't be any good. But I think it's cool that it's not a wrestler tied to it. It's just a guy committing a crime.
You did exactly what I wanted. You took the angle as is, and then you saved it. You even kept the same people involved, which I certainly wasn't able to do. I couldn't think of a good way to keep DDP involved. No, I really dig that. What do you think, Michael?
I like that DDP isn't the Stalker, because that was such a terrible thing. Any issues I have there are stuck from the general prospect of it being a Stalker angle rather than anything that Lenny came up with. It was perfectly serviceable, although, the elephant in the room is,
you just in general don't like the idea of the Stalker angle, period. I'm with you.
It is such a horrible storyline, and that's not Lenny's fault. He's perfectly fine there.
Well, now I got to hear what you did to try to save the Stalker storyline.
Well, this is, not only is it dodgy as fuck, really, this entire thing, just so unsettling, but it's also dreadfully written. But what we know is essentially that someone's doing it, and that the narrator of the videos is a man with a disguised voice. But it's not going to be DDP. In fact, I'm trying to de-dodgy it as much as possible, and even then it's impossible because it was that bad an angle. But I'm not even going to make it a man. Instead, the Stalker will turn out to be Jazz from ECW.
Oh.
Immediately, it's a woman, not a guy. And it's not going to be that she wants sex. It's not going to be sort of, let's have random lesbian undertones here. No, fuck that shit. This is just straight up that she can literally she comes out, and the whole point is that she's making a point here that she can go for anyone on the roster. I mean, she was Awesome Kong essentially a decade earlier, and she'd kill everyone. And they've got Paul Heyman on commentary, so he can build her up as this unstoppable force. That, in ECW, she got so bored of fighting women, she took on the men, and she was still undefeated. So we built to a 6-person cage match at SummerSlam, where Taker, Kane, Sarah versus Jazz and 2 ECW alumni. Let's just say that the Dudleys are in there to level things, and ECW win when Jazz pins Sarah. So it turns out relatively early into this that Heyman is the voice on the videos because he's helping Jazz out. So the night after SummerSlam, Taker gets Paul Heyman and basically kills him in the ring, only for anyone connected with the old ECW who haven't shown up because this is a different timeline. They all show up and they kill the Undertaker. And this gives the whole WCW invasion suddenly an ECW faction. Meanwhile, Jazz wins the women's title and is unstoppable until we use her undefeated against anyone, even going up against Undertaker, to put over Trish Stratus as the new standard bearer of the women's division at WrestleMania 18, which you might remember is in Trish Stratus's hometown. So yeah, I've tried to take an angle which was hideous for women by using it to bring women's wrestling into the 21st century.
I dig it. That's another good one. You got a lot of things that are similar with what I want to do. That's really interesting.
Oh.
Though I do miss hashtag Jonathan the Stalker. All right, everybody. For my story of Sarah's Stalker, I'm going to do the opposite of what Michael did. I'm embracing the dodgy.
Oh, God.
So here we go. As things move forward, some things are a little different, but I can't tell you what those are quite yet. But so far our timeline is basically the same. We get all our Stalker videos, we get everything else, and then the Stalker unmasks on Raw, and it is revealed to be just incredible. At that next pay-per-view, Undertaker takes out his anger and rage on Just Incredible, and he beats him But as he's beating him on Raw, we get video of Sarah continuing to be stalked by another man, and we know that this to be true because the videotape that we get of it is of her watching the pay-per-view of Taker beating up Just Incredible. So it's like, what's going on? So Taker goes crazy, goes looking for hashtag Jonathan the Stalker, and he finds him and unmasks him to reveal Perry Saturn. So now we finally have our culprit. Except Perry Saturn doesn't make any sense because we have an alibi for him for the pay-per-view. So what's going on? And eventually we find a third stalker, and it's Test. And now everything starts to make sense. We have a big man versus a big man. We have in the invasion part of the story, in part of the invasion storyline angle, was that Test was pissed that none of the WWE guys trusted him and his relationship with Shane. So he turns code eventually and joins the alliance. So all this, we now make all that make sense by having this all be part of that. But then suddenly we have a fourth stalker, and it's revealed to be Rhino. Now, all this is nonsense and crazy, but we eventually get the Brothers of Destruction versus those four dudes in a handicap cage match at SummerSlam, where it is finally revealed all of this has been mind games by the mastermind, Raven, who has brought back ECW, and instead of Stephanie being the person in charge of ECW, Stephanie bankrolls it, and Raven is the number one guy. Because you see, what he's been doing is while they have been stalking The Undertaker with his new flock of Just Incredible, Perry Saturn, Test, and Rhino, he has been rebuilding ECW within the company. He wins the European Championship off of Eddie Guerrero instead of Matt Hardy doing it. And then he retains the Hardcore Championship at WrestleMania 17 to have both. And then Stephanie, with her approval, they literally melt and destroy both belts and reprint the ECW Heavyweight Championship. A actual heavyweight championship that is done under hardcore Ravens rules, extreme rules. You can't have an invasion with that company without having its biggest damn prize. And ECW needs to have the prize. So, while all this is happening, Taker does end up getting all his revenge for Raven. What this does is make the Stalker thing seem like it's important, but really it's not. The Stalker thing was just a means to an end for Raven. Raven now is revitalized. We have a title that's so much more important. But my favorite part about all of it is that then we have Raven defunct refused to help Stephanie with his flock and his ECW title, and he tells the WWF to screw off too. He plays by Raven's rules, and now the invasion actually has 3 sides instead of having just the 2. So that's how I save the Sarah Stalker angle, with Raven. Kinda.
Mm-hmm. I like that one a lot. I love Raven.
Yeah,
And I never liked Stephanie having anything to do with any of that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It made sense for her to have the bankroll, but other than that, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah. And I love the belts.
Thank you.
The belt idea. That's a really cool thing.
It made me happy when I could make it happen, because I was looking up the histories of both belts, and there legitimately was a time where in April of 2017, Raven could get both. I was like, yeah, that's great, that's wonderful.
Yeah, because he beat Eddie Guerrero, and it was scheduled for Backlash, and then they just cancelled it.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly.
I feel I've mentioned the podcast already. I got so pissed off about that at the time.
That's all right. You can mention it again.
Yeah, I got so pissed off at the time.
Nice. Well, that's
So out of curiosity, do you bother bringing DDP to the WWF, or do you just not even sign him? And if you do bring him, how do you bring him?
yeah, I do. I make him have the Booker T role that he should have had. He should be the main face of WCW instead of Booker T, and have Booker T be the secondary main face of the invasion. That way, eventually, you have a face and a heel because the Invasion was at its most interesting when it was two companies and they were both face and heel. They had different members of both, and they kind of did that, but then they eventually just wanted the Alliance to all be bad guys, and it just didn't work.
Same question to you, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get DDP in there still, in a different way?
In a different way, yes.
How would you do it?
Well, maybe it will be connected to my universe in your topic.
Oh,
See, mine actually is too.
Gotcha.
That's great. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our second topic.
I'm assuming that's my topic. Then.
Actually, let's do a breather, because Michael teased this last episode. And I think his topic is good. It's good to have a little bit of break between our fantasy booking. So let's do Michael's topic.
All right.
Okay. Oh. One of the sobering aspects of getting old is when you realise that people you've grown up with, like actors and musicians and the people you've loved, basically, their output can be there for you all their life, but they won't because Tempest fugit. And sadly, last month we lost one of the all-time greats in pro wrestling, Bobby the Brain Heenan, after a very long battle with cancer. Now, it's no surprise to any of our listeners that all three of us are big fans of the Brain, Broken Table Commentary. So I thought that we should take this moment to talk about our favourite Bobby Heenan moments. And because this is the equivalent of a week, well, is he in our Hall of Fame yet?
No, but I'm sure in the future we're going to do a commentary round specifically, and I'd be hard pressed to think that he wouldn't make it in.
Yeah, he will be in our Hall of Fame before too long, basically, because he was, essentially, arguably, and if you argued this, I wouldn't argue against you. One of the greatest commentators and managers in wrestling of all time. So yeah, favorite moments, and that can be it's subjective if you like, because this is we just want to have some remember some fun about one of the greats. So I asked Lenny and Jessel to come up with some of their favorite Bobby Heenan moments, and me too, obviously. So.
This was a little hard for me because I like the Brain, but he was always commentary. I like his manager stuff. It either never flew with me or I just never saw it in time, so it doesn't make an impact. So I feel bad because everything I have to say about him is just his great commentary, but legitimately he is in a perfect world. He is the best color commentator in probably wrestling history.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with focusing in his commentary, because there is so much of it. I mean, obviously, people will immediately jump to the 1992 Royal Rumble match as being
that was my specific one I had written down. Yeah,
the gold standard of probably WWF commentary in general. But if you look at WrestleMania 7 and WrestleMania 8 with him and Gorilla, man, those two they were just they are the quintessential WWF duo, working off each other, and I don't think they've ever been beaten really.
Personally, his work with Schiavone is my favorite.
Yeah.
He and Schiavone, no matter who else was on commentary with them, they were WCW to me. They made everything feel like it mattered, which was a thing that WWF always had a hard time with. I never felt like things mattered in the long run because it wasn't WrestleMania, but WCW, everything felt like it mattered. And that's because Bobby was always there. Shivani always made a big point of it, and they worked so well together. Probably because of their, essentially, their love-hate relationship with each other.
I'm not a big fan of the Tony partnership, as I mentioned, but the thing that always jumped to me there is there's a match with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I can't remember who he's facing, it's not important, but Tony Schiavone makes a reference to Jim Duggan's great in-ring intelligence, at which point Bobby Heenan starts pissing himself laughing on the commentary and yells out, "Intelligence!" And then anytime they try and start the commentary again, Bobby Heenan starts riffing on the idea of Hacksaw Jim Duggan having any intelligence whatsoever. I can't even remember who he's facing now, but it's really funny. Lenny, what are your thoughts on the Brain?
Sorry, I was talking to a child. My thoughts on the Brain are a lot like Jessel's. That's why I didn't pop in just to say, yes, I agree. I am with Jessel. I think his stuff with Shivani is his best stuff. I think his commentary stuff is better than his manager stuff. I think a lot of the times, not always, but a lot of the times he got placed as a manager with guys that didn't really need a manager. There are a couple of cases where I think he definitely helped out, but especially later in his manager career, he was placed with guys that were perfectly fine without managers. Earlier on, like when I think Andre the Giant, that's a good example of, he was good he was very beneficial for everybody when he was a manager for Andre the Giant. But then there were some other guys that the partnership, I'm not really sure what the purpose of that was, or later on in WCW, I'm not sure what the purpose of it was. But commentary-wise, I definitely think that I really like his Eric Bischoff stuff too. I think him and Bischoff always.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Together. That was my favorite person that Bischoff worked with because I don't think Bischoff's is great on commentary. He's good, but when he and Bobby went back and forth, those were always really good. He made Mongo sound really good, who's not one of my favorites. So I definitely agree with Jessel on most of the stuff he said so far. So like everything I wrote down as my favorite things that he's done is all commentary stuff. I have just a little rant about how great he is in the '92 Rumble, which you guys touched on. How he usually plays characters and has good little one-liners and has really funny stuff. But then like the '92 Rumble, he's just great. He's just great at creating the moments and building up everything, and he just proves that he can do everything. Yeah, especially in that match. So.
And of course, the thing about the '92 Rumble is as great as it's like it's always for me the prelude to WrestleMania 8 with the whole story of Heenan and Flair and that. I mean, that's just got some of my favorite comments. In fact, that's got so much great commentary that to this day I couldn't tell you a single thing that happens in the Tatanka Rick Martel match. In fact, sometimes I even have to Google it to remind me who won. That was Tatanka, because the commentary between Monsoon and Heenan directly after Ric Flair's lost the title is just perfect character stuff. The great thing about Bobby Heenan, though, as a heel commentator, is that he would never try and get himself over at the expense of the wrestlers. If you want an example of that, just look at Michael Cole's heel turn, when essentially the person getting over was Michael Cole as a villain, not the wrestlers in the ring most of the time.
Yeah.
Whereas Bobby Heenan, he was a heel, so he'd always look at things from a heelish perspective, but his number one position was that he would be getting the stuff over in the ring. So he'd be the first to tell you if someone made a face had made a really smart tactical move, for example, or if something amazing had happened. My go-to for that is when Taker's streak started against the hideous murderer Jimmy Snuka. We can say that because he's dead. And Snuka had been protected for the entire 80s, basically, and Taker crushes him in 3 minutes. and Bobby Heenan just makes this choked, I can't believe that was Jimmy Snuka, in this sort of slightly horrified, slightly utterly shocked at what he's just seen, and it just sells what was a completely nondescript Scotch match. And his whole thing's full of, oh, he was just such a great. He was really good at, putting over the match and the wrestlers, rather than himself. That's what
The thing that always tickles me is that shows a difference in how commentary's done. I'm sure we've talked about it before. I feel like I talk about this all the time. Is how Bobby, just by being in character, almost ruined the NWO reveal.
Yeah.
But when you think about what that means that as much as we know that Shivani he's a particulars, he's a guy who knew what was going on, he kept things up to date, he was a practice professional. Bobby was playing off the cuff almost on the regular. As a guy who's done improv for a very long time, being that consistent with what you do on commentary, constantly putting over the guys you're working with, constantly having good, comedic, entertaining banter, like, that's hard. But he just, in WCW especially, he was always on point. And you can tell from the way that he was just riffing, he's making it up mostly off the top of his head, too, which is incredible.
And he was also really good with other commentators. I mean, the bit that really sticks in my mind is from King of the Ring 93, which was one of the first sort of live shows that JR Jim Ross did for them. And you can tell that he's slightly nervous. And at one point, when IRS and DiBiase are in the ring with the Steiners, JR refers to the fact that Mike Rotunda, IRS, has had, was it four tag titles with three partners. He has just mentioned the WCW title reign, which is a big no-no, back in '89. So quick as a flash, Bobby Heenan realizes that his partner's starting to dry up on air and goes, "Oh, did he win that at Syracuse?" referring to one of Rotunda's former gimmicks in WCW. And JR laughs and goes, "No, Wall Street, actually." The two of them laugh for a second and then continue. And Heenan has basically just stepped in and kind of saved the entire commentary on the spur.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there are, hundreds of the moments of that throughout his commentary career. It's just the ones you spot now and again. But no, I'll have to stand here for his managerial career. He managed a lot of shit wrestlers, and they looked credible for times, mostly thanks to his efforts. Hercules, I'm thinking of people like him and Ron Bass, and oh my god, so many bad 80s wrestlers. My general feeling is, if you were a bad wrestler and Bobby Heenan was your manager, he made you credible. If you were a good wrestler and Bobby Heenan was there, he was so over as a heel character that he made even you more over, which is what Kurt Hennig had said about how the Mr. Perfect didn't need Bobby Heenan, but them together made Mr. Perfect even more hated. And the whole setup with as Andre's manager, he basically, with a few segments, set up one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time, and his promos for it about how Andre's undefeated, and there's the great stupid line. Mean Gene goes, for years Hogan looked up to Andre the Giant, and Bobby Heenan walks in and cuts him off and goes, "Yeah, it's because he's 7'2". But they basically, he was a huge point of cementing the WWE with this main event back in '87. So yeah, I think he was an all-rounder in that. And if his commentary surpassed it in the '90s because it was so great, that just shows that he was amazing, basically. So any other thoughts, you two?
We sort of, we mentioned it, and then I don't know if we have talked about it in the past, but when I was reading up on Bobby Heenan stuff over the last 2 weeks, there's a lot of debate back and forth on if Bobby Heenan saying, but whose side is he on with Hulk Hogan at the whole Bash at the Beach thing was bad commentary, and if he should have said it or not. So I'm just wondering if you guys consider that something Heenan should have said, or if that was something that he should not have said. Do you guys think that dilutes the moment a little bit, or if that was something in character perfectly acceptable?
Somewhere between the two. It was absolutely a gaffe, because it was definitely not, he was definitely not supposed to say it. That was unplanned. That is, they wanted it to be as big a surprise as possible, and putting any doubt on Hogan at all was a gaffe. But it was in character. He's always had a completely anti-Hogan mindset. So, so somewhere in the middle, I think.
I think it works perfectly, actually. And because it is Heenan's character that even way back when they were in the AWA together, he couldn't stand Hulk Hogan. He spent his entire career expecting Hogan to be a phony who turns on everyone. And the thing that seals it is what happens after this famous line. When Hogan gets in the ring and turns heel, Heenan goes silent for a way, and when they finally get him to speak again, Tony goes, "Well, you were right all along," and Heenan goes, "I know," and he just sounds so depressed. He's like this person who has finally, everyone realizes he's right, and he doesn't know what to deal with it. It's just, even if it had been a gaffe, they just save it so much through all of their history together.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I would say that I'm probably a little bit more on Jess's side. I think there are moments that are a little bit bigger than a commentator's character. So
yeah, but he didn't know it was going to be a moment, so...
Right, hence why somewhere in the middle. Because Tony
all...
definitely knew. Shivani knew. So Brain could have known. We don't know why he didn't. Again, like I posited, he played mostly off the cuff. So that's probably it. And he was in character.
If I recall correctly, Bischoff preferred Brain's reactions to stuff being like legit rather than foreknown.
Yeah.
Which, points out the thing, if they didn't want him to be in, they should have warned him that this was going to happen. But that's WCW for you. Oh, man. But, yeah. Such a great performer. Yeah.
With all our love of Bobby the Brain, definitely go and check out the 92 Rumble. Oh, yeah. I think that is the best... That is the best beginning, middle, end of watching what he does on commentary.
And if you don't have...
no spoilers on what happens. Just go check it out. It's on multiple DVD sets, and it's on the network, and so check it out for that.
And if you've only got 15 minutes to spare, check out the Gimmick Battle Royal from WrestleMania 17.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. I had that one down.
So much of that off the top of my head, about Nikolai Volkov being the first Russian cosmonaut. Really? Well, he didn't go off. He was scared of heights. And about 3.5 years ago, everyone got your mother-in-law, and it's just they're licking Mean Gene's hair. What he had left, both of them. It's such.
He's having fun on that one.
Man, it's such a perfect gimmick match.
Let's go ahead and move on to our final topic.
3.
Alright, this is mine. This is a little walk down fantasy rebooking lane, historically speaking. So we're going back to January 1999. Any day of January 1999. WWF and WCW have traded one of their top wrestlers to the other company. Who gets traded, and how do they get booked? I think I am going to start off with Michael here, since he kind of started leading us down his path when we were finishing up earlier.
So, I have moved somebody to WWE and somebody to WCW. And it's two main eventers, although technically there's a slight cheat here, One of them was on the wane by 1999, although they had been a main eventer for most of the previous 5 years, so I think it just about counts. So I'm going to start with WWE, who are getting Diamond Dallas Page. DDP shows up on Raw soon after January 1999 as the corporation's new ace in the hole. You got the corporation shirt, everyone, they're doing the whole big red carpet thing for him. Fans know who he is. He acts all celebration, gets in the ring, shakes Vince's hand, boom, diamond cutter.
Oh,
And if you think I am nicking the whole NWO thing here, of course, the best way to get over to a new audience. So we hint at DDP v Rock as a sort of long game here, but DDP takes on Ken Shamrock at WrestleMania and wins, and then The Rock gets kicked out of the corporation. So we've got the big heel faction against three main event good guys who don't like each other, that being Rock, Austin, and DDP. And I think DDP was over enough with the fans in 98, 99, the Attitude Era for that to work. That was pretty much his prime sort of overness. And if Jericho could transfer his overness to WWF that year, then I'm pretty sure DDP would have, instantly. So The Rock and DDP have to work together to take down the corporate ministry, because if you remember, Austin was pretty much injured a lot that summer. But everything explodes in a tag title match for the Acolytes in the summer, and at SummerSlam '99 we have People's Champion versus People's Champion, which you can well imagine will sure be a fucking belly gun match, which happened in real life. Oh, also in real life, DDP actually met The Rock in early '99. Jessel probably knows about this. And DDP was infusing over Rock because Jake the Snake, who is DDP's mentor, had told him that The Rock was going to be this amazing person when they first met in '96. But, as DDP was leaving, The Rock went, there's only room for one People's Champion in wrestling. And he laughed because it was a joke. But, there's your wrestling hook. That there could only be one of them. And obviously The Rock would have won at SummerSlam because he's on the trajectory to become the biggest man in wrestling and pop culture. But, DDP could survive that if it's a credibly booked match, and it brought him in at the top. So that's what happens in WWE. In WCW, this was a bit of a no-brainer for me, and you're going to know instantly what I'm going to say here. But I am trading in January 1999 to WCW from WWF, Owen Hart.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even think about that.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
He goes to WCW and has the big match with Benoit that they always used to hint about having. He hints at a team with Brett. Those two feud. They have great They were incapable of having great matches unless you put a certain cage match around it. And eventually he retires, from full time in about 2000 or 2001. This is a no-brainer because it gets Owen Hart the hell away from the Kemper Arena on the 23rd of May. And let's talk about the domino effect here. He then retires in 2000, or whenever WCW shuts down, most likely. Bret Hart doesn't need to have a sympathy title run later that year due to Owen dying, because he's not going to die because he's in WCW. Which means no kick to the head, which means no post-concussion syndrome, no stroke. Owen not being dead means that Davey Boy doesn't go over the edge with all the pain pills in 1999 to 2002, and maybe he goes to rehab and gets clean. I don't know if the damage had already been done by 1999, but let's have my gut feeling that it's his downward spiral in the last 2 years of his life that did for him. So Davey Boy's in a better place here. So a living Owen Hart goes into the Hall of Fame, and because he's around to be the calming influence on Bret, Bret reconciles with Vince over the whole Screwjob thing far earlier, say around about 2002, when Vince was reconciling with everyone under the planet, who did much worse. Sans post-concussion syndrome, we can actually get a few Owen and Bret versus the modern guys. We can have them face like Cena and Brock or whoever. And because Bret's healthy and around, he would actually he might have even spotted Kurt Hennig's drug addiction in 2002, because they were best friends, but he wasn't around because he had the stroke, which might have actually kept, Mr. Perfect alive. And because of the whole drug thing, they might even had them keeping sort of looking out for that earlier, which might have meant they caught Eddie's health issues, and so on and so on. And basically, the entire wrestling world would be better off if they just sacked Owen Hart at the Rumble in 1999 and let him go to WCW.
Only point of order I have opposite is it does mean that Jericho probably wouldn't have come to the WWF because he was unhappy at WCW, but his big seller was the match with Owen he never got. So if Owen in January was already in WCW, Jericho might have never left.
A timeline
Which that definitely, maybe he goes to Japan, who knows. But that's the only contention I can think of.
A timeline with a potentially still living Owen Hart, Bulldog, Mr. Perfect, Eddie Guerrero, and so on, so on, so on. I can cope with Jericho not being in WWF.
I'm not saying that it's not good that you saved everyone's fucking lives, Michael. I'm just pointing out that that's the only negative I can think of.
Oh, and just one more thing, because this is my booking, Owen Hart wins the WCW World Title in 2000, and he beats Eddie Guerrero for the WWE title in SmackDown in 2004, because, why the hell not? So, there we go.
I didn't even think about it doing that, but that is something. I like it. And I was like playing. I was like, oh, I gotta tell him that I really like having the people's champions working together, and then that's the match that we never got, and that's a really good idea. And then you went somewhere completely else.
Yeah, same here.
You took that really cool feud, and you're like, yeah, that's fine and all, but I'm saving everyone's lives. We got to keep Lance Cade from dying.
Oh. The thing about once you change such an obvious domino, you have no idea what the hell's going to happen, so... Oh, man.
It is fantasy booking, so I guess if you can save everyone...
That's why Doctor Who hasn't saved him. It's locked in time. Clearly.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Jericho would still come to WWE when the invasion, I would assume, right?
Maybe. Under what Michael proposes, I suspect Jericho would have gone back to Japan.
Well, Michael, in your fantasy thing, does Jericho come over to WWE when they do the invasion?
I hadn't actually thought about Jericho during it, but if the Hearts are in good thingaways for the WWE in 2002, I don't see why Jericho wouldn't be in WWE at that point.
Well, there you go. Jericho's there.
He'd essentially be Lance Storm but with a sort of more talking ability at that point. So,
well, now if I don't save people's lives, whatever I say is going to make me look like a dick.
No.
I already knew mine was going to make at least one of the two of you unhappy. So,
all right. So I'm going to go ahead and say that in mine, the guy that comes over from WCW. After everything I say, he gets in a feud with Owen Hart, and they aren't booked on the pay-per-view that Owen Hart dies at. Just going to say that. No. So Owen Hart doesn't die.
Okay.
I'm going to say that now.
I'm
got it. Not dying. Clear.
The Over the Edge 99, right? That's the one.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go next. Save Jess for last. I think Jessel's is going to be the best one out of me and him, since Michael already went. What? What are you giggling about?
I just want to hear what you're doing. I'm excited.
All right, so this is going down at the very beginning of January to keep the two, because both companies have two major title changes happen on the 4th of January. We can't let those happen. So we got to make sure Kevin Nash keeps the belt and that Mankind doesn't get the belt. So right before the 4th, in the finger poke of doom, Kevin Nash is going to get traded to the WWF with the big gold WCW World Heavyweight title that he has taken from Goldberg. So he shows up on Raw. He's bragging about how he went into WCW as an outsider and did exactly what he set out to do all along. He went in there and he beat up everybody as the outsider, and he's destroy WCW, and he has the belt to prove it. And he's expecting this big warm welcome that everybody in the WWF is just going to basically worship him because now he's shown up with their belt and has proven that he's conquered the WCW. But he doesn't get that because what he really did was go over there and try to be a star in the WCW and try to put the WWF out of business. So he's going to have to deal with the main, I guess you call them good guys at the time in DX. So he's going to have to deal with DX. And DX is determined to get the belt off of Kevin Nash just so they can ship it back to WCW. So Kevin Nash first, he has to go up again. He gets booked in a triple threat. You call it a triple threat, but it's not really a triple threat. It's basically a handicap match against Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg. And he manages to win that one. And then he goes to the St. Valentine's Day Massacre and against Triple H. And he manages to win that one. And then at WrestleMania, he gets booked against X-Pac. And that's the one, okay, well, he's going to beat X-Pac. But we know that Kevin Nash, when he gets up against those little cruiserweights, every now and then, those little fellas can find a way to sneak out wins against old Kevin Nash. And X-Pac is able to beat Kevin Nash and take the belt and send it back to old WCW. And then who cares what Kevin Nash does after that? That's what I do with WCW. And then Kevin Nash gets in a feud with Owen Hart.
Right, that saves everybody's lives. Yeah.
So that's what I do with that. But mainly what happens, we needed to get the belt off to do this ridiculous thing that we're doing with Mankind. So Mankind shows up January 4th, Monday Nitro. He shows up and he says he was taught by WWF that these power stables, I know wrestlers don't use the word stables, groups or whatever, is where it's at, and they destroyed him and they broke his spirit and everything, the corporation did. So he wants to align himself with the NWO. He realized that that's the only way he's going to make it. So that's the first thing he does, is go out there and say he wants to be a member of the NWO. And the NWO is they're pretty shaken up right now. They just lost Nash and everything. So they're like, okay, look, we need members. So they're going to give Mankind a chance. So they let him try out that he's got to beat some guys. So I can't remember all the baby faces. So he wrestles a couple of the baby faces at the time, and he's beating them. DDP, I guess, is one of them. So Mankind, he's starting to prove his worth. He's sadistic. He's different than the other guys that are over there because he's kind of insane. He wears the leather mask and stuff. Instead of spray painting, he's scratching the NWO into people's backs and stuff. And they're like, wow, this guy's legit. You know, we can go a long way with him. But at the time, all the WCW guys are like, all right, well, you know, we've heard that this wrestler's going to come back and he's gonna destroy the NWO. And Hulk Hogan goes out there and is like, oh, I want to see who you guys had that thinks they're actually going to stop the NWO because we have all of Mankind on our side. And then Cactus Jack comes out. What? Cactus Jack is here? And Cactus Jack comes running to the ring and just beats the crap out of Hulk Hogan and all the other NWO members, except for Mankind, come running out and, they're fighting Cactus Jack. And Cactus Jack just beating the crap out of all of them. And Cactus Jack is the hero for WCW. And so now you have, sometimes the NWO is this all-powerful force with Mankind. But then the WCW is this all-powerful force with Cactus Jack. And then they find out that, the World Heavyweight title is coming back. So they're going to have these number one contenders matches. Mankind wins one of the number one contenders matches, and then Cactus Jack wins the other number one contenders match. So at this, the pay-per-view, I don't know what pay-per-view falls into this time slot, Slamboree or whatever, it's going to be Cactus Jack versus Mankind for the World Heavyweight title. So the guy's got to make a choice. He's either got to decide that he's going to be Cactus Jack, World Heavyweight Champion, and be Team WCW, or he's got to decide he's going to be Mankind and be Team NWO, World Heavyweight Champion. It's just whichever guy he walks out as, he's going to be the champion. So the night comes, Slamboree or whatever pay-per-view falls around WrestleMania time, I don't remember which one. Everybody's waiting, and then here comes Cactus Jack. Oh, everybody's so excited. The good guy came out. He comes into the ring. Oh, there's no Mankind. The bell rings. They count to 10. Oh, Cactus Jack is the new World Heavyweight Champion. And that's what I would do.
That's really fun. I really like that.
Yeah.
Cactus Jack is your champion by countout.
I like it.
Yeah, I like
that's
that. That's fun.
That's how both of the storylines weave in and out of each other.
I'm glad that that my to WCW is going to be different than both of yours. That makes me happy because Michael and my WWFs are very similar. But I will say, when I first wrote this before I went on vacation, I misunderstood the dates. So I wrote this huge, long, elaborate thing that would have happened at the end of '97. That would be what I dubbed the Ottawa screw job, where Vince fires Shawn the night after Montreal, and Brett doesn't leave. So Shawn goes to WCW instead, and Lex Luger comes to help his '94 Rumble mate, Brett. And that was I had a whole pitch for it, but so the Ottawa screw job alternate future. But that's neither here nor there. I'll do
another day.
So to WWF in January, it's got to be DDP. 100%. It has to be DDP for me. People's Champ versus People's Champ. Like Michael said, I'm going to get there a little bit differently than he did. But essentially, Vince McMahon sees money for WrestleMania. He wants People's Champ versus People's Champ. So he makes an unholy trade with Eric Bischoff to get what he wants, which is DDP, and we'll find out what he traded later. Big Show now no longer screws Mankind in the ladder match on Raw, so Mankind definitively wins that feud with The Rock. So Mankind holds the title definitively. DDP then debuts the next night on Raw and wins the title off Mankind. In our big shock moment. So now we set up Stone Cold versus DDP with no special guest referee nonsense at WrestleMania. And you have Rock and Sock a little earlier, and you don't do the Hell in a Cell. Have it be Big Show and Boss Man versus Stone Cold and DDP, or Rock and Sock connection at that WrestleMania. Then we end up building up to People's Champ versus People's Champ at SummerSlam, so we can get our big SummerSlam People's Champ. You have a lot of great matches all the way through. DDP Foley will be great. DDP Shamrock, like Michael said. DDP The Rock. DDP versus Vince could be incredible. And DDP DX. Just seeing how that will all work together, just all that was really entertaining me. So that's my pitch there. So for Vince to get this done, he has to trade away his greatest asset to WCW. So he sends The Undertaker to WCW.
That's who I had at first, and I changed it yesterday. So
cool. He interferes in the Goldberg-Scott Hall match at Sold Out and takes over the NWO. He is not The Undertaker. He cuts a promo talking about how stupid it is for people to believe he was dead. He is Callous Mark Calloway. He's the he's the American Badass Taker gimmick, except earlier as Callous Mark Calloway, which is what he wrestled as before when he was in WCW anyway. He decides to remake the NWO in his old image, and he dismantles Scott Steiner, who is the de facto leader of the NWO at this point. He wins the U.S. heavyweight title off of Bret Hart instead of the Hart-Piper match. You have Hart-Calloway. Then you have Lex Luger versus Calloway, Ric Flair versus Calloway early, so that then when it happens in WWF, you have a little callback to the Flair retirement match. Scott Steiner versus Calloway, Hogan versus Calloway, and you ultimately build up to Starrcade being Goldberg versus Calloway, because we can have Bischoff talking about essentially the thing they tried to do with Sid, the Millennial Man undefeated streak. Well, we can talk about Calloway's undefeated streak in that other company, and then he's undefeated in this company. So Goldberg's only lost to one man. Calloway is brand new and he's never lost. You build up to that Starrcade, and Goldberg gets the title back at that Starrcade. That'd be where I'd go. So I'm a little loosey-goosey, but that's essentially my pitch.
No, I like it. It's just, you just found ways to deliver a buttload of dream matches. So
I like it.
I really like your story, Lenny. Your story is my favorite story, I think.
thank you.
And of
It's a
course,
goofy one.
I like Michael saving the entire world.
Donald Trump's never president. Scotland wins the World Cup.
Yeah. No, that's a dovetail from Mr. Perfect, obviously. Who replaces Obama but the perfect president, Kurt Hennig? Because I can't make
God.
All right, everybody. That's been an episode.
Where's Mr. Perfect from? Where was he born?
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's been an episode. I hope you guys all enjoyed. I know we did.
It's been an episode.
Save the world. When you have whoever has time travel, make sure you go save Owen first, because that will save the world. Killing Hitler? Nah. Save Owen Hart's life. That's what we need.
Oh man.
But no, I hope you guys enjoyed. I enjoyed this one. I always enjoy the fantasy heavy booking ones. Send us your pictures of hashtag Jonathan the Stalker. Tell us your favorite Bobby the Brain Heenan moments. And look forward to our predictions for TLC coming out later this weekend. All right. Anybody have anything else they want to say before we get out of here?
If you do play WWE 2K18 on PlayStation 4, hit us up and let me know your gamer tag. We'll play together.
There you go.
That's it.
Alrighty, right. Well then, bye-bye.
Bye.